we're going to walk through the procedure of performing a calibration on a Lenox welder. So we're using a Lenox TLH 2500 welder, and the procedure we're going to be going through will be suitable for all hydraulic machines of 1000, 1500, 2500. If you open up your manual that came with your machine, there's a section that starts the calibration procedure. And if we follow that step by step, we should be able to get through this and have a positive outcome. So, the first things, we have to have our power on to start. I'm going to turn my power on to my machine. I want to come over to my weld control and make sure that it's in the no weld position. So if this were in the weld position, if you were just doing some welding, you want to make sure it's in the no weld position. Okay? We're going to be looking for a 440 thousandths starting gap in the three position, the B link of the three position link. That would be the top link on this machine. This link is located on the inside of the welder. So if we open this up and we take a look on the inside, this is our three position link. And you can see we're in the top link hole. So we're in the B position, which is the appropriate spot for the calibration procedure on the 2500. Close this. Turn my power back on. So I'm going to remove the lower jaw blocks. On this machine, in order to take the lower jaw blocks out and be safe, I need to make sure that my clamping pressures have been turned down to 0, because we're going to need to put this machine in the clamp position to cycle it, and we don't want the cylinders coming up without the lower jaw blocks in place. So there's our back edge, and here's our tooth edge. Down to 0. So after we've made sure that we've taken off our clamp pressure, make sure we're in our no weld, we want to take and make sure that our upset pressure is set to the appropriate pressure for our calibration procedure. And in this case, on this machine, that's 40 pounds in the low position. So now you're set up for doing your calibration. So now I can safely remove my lower jaw blocks. Okay. Now I can clamp my machine with the pressures being off. Come over here, flip this into the clamp position, and with no pressure being applied, my jaw blocks remain in the lower part. Make sure that my machine, if you're in the neutral, make sure you bring it to the advanced position. You'll know that your ready light comes on. This is where we're going to measure our opening on our jaw dies. So I'm going to take a vernier gauge, zero it out, bring it over, and then take a measurement in between our jaws, such as this. So again, we're looking for 440 thousandths. You can see that we have 436. So we're a little shy. We're going to want to open that up, and that's done on the inside of the machine turning the eccentric that secures that 3-pin link, okay? So for clarity, we're gonna move over to our school machine. That makes it a little easier to see what's going on. You can see this is an exact duplicate of what we're working on. So this is the frame for a 2500, just missing the transformer and all the other components. So again, let's go back to our procedure. Our power is on. We're in our advanced position. We took our reading and we need to make an adjustment, okay? So to do this, you're gonna go to the inside of your machine, open up your cover. You're gonna wanna be in a neutral position. Your power will shut off because of the safety switch, that's fine. You're gonna take a 5/32 Allen wrench, and there's 2 set screws that we need to loosen. One is on the top, right here, that's relatively easy to get at. The other one is located in the bottom under here, and it's extremely difficult to get at. So we may have to remove the pin and shift the link to access that to loosen it. So we're gonna take and loosen our first one, right there. And to that bottom one, again, I'm gonna pull that pin out, lift this link up, and now you can see the position of that other set screw is way up here. So now I have access to that. Be able to get the Allen wrench in there. Loosen that. And now I'm going to re-secure my position. So those 2 screws were holding this eccentric pin in place. So it's a 60,000th throw eccentric that rotates 360 degrees, so it'll move it in or out based on the direction that you turn it. At this time, we don't know what that direction is, so we're gonna have to make an assessment as we turn it. We're gonna have to make a visual assessment to see what direction we're going. So I'm gonna turn my power back on. I'm gonna put it back in the advanced position. I'm gonna validate what I had for reading. So I had on this machine a little over 440, about 443. So we're gonna wanna bring this one in a little bit. So again, I went to my neutral position here. I'm gonna put my flathead screwdriver in the slot, and I'm gonna turn this in one direction or the other, and I'm gonna monitor which way this moves to understand whether I'm opening or closing. So we wanna close this. I'm gonna turn it counterclockwise, and I did note that I did close it, okay? But I probably closed it too much. I'm just gonna back it up just a little bit. And I'm gonna secure that adjustment I just made with the Allen wrench. There we go. Just snug it. Doesn't have to be seriously tight at this moment. Now at this point, I'm gonna make sure my power is back on. Put it back in the advanced position. I'm gonna take my vernier gauge and then see what my adjustment was. I'm gonna bring this out. And I can see that I made too large of an adjustment. So I closed it up too much. I need to open it. So we're gonna just do the same exact procedure. Neutral position, my power would be off, and I open my cover. Loosen this. I'm gonna open this up a little bit. Capture my position, and then retake my reading. So now I turn my power back on, put it back in the advanced position, come back over here, take a reading, and I'm within 4 thousandths, but I want to be a little closer than that, so I'm going to do this one more time. Got my neutral, my power is off. Secure my position, power on, forward, and We're 440 thousandths right on the money. So now that we have our 440 thousandths dimension for our starting gap, we're going to want to take and put 165 thousandths feeler gauge in between the jaws. We're going to close it onto that 165, and this is where we're going to take and validate or adjust, if necessary, our current cutout. So I'm going to use the gauges that came with the machines. If you can see, these are all scribed with the values. I'm going to take the 160 tab and the 1 leaf, which is the 5,000, so there's my 165. I'm going to put this in between the jaw dies. Okay. I'm going to hold it just slightly off center like this. And now I'm going to take and I'm going to depress my weld start so that I can cycle the machine to capture these gauges. So here I pressed it, machine's going through, and now it stops on my 165 gauge. So at this time, if you look at your panel, you'll see that all the top panel lights are on, your calibration, your cam, your power, and your ready. This calibration light, the yellow light, is what you're going to be looking at when you turn your current cutout on the end of the machine over here. You want that light to go out at 2 complete revolutions from 0. So here's your 0 right here. I'm going to turn 1 complete revolution, come around, and here's my 2 complete revolutions. My light is still on. I'm going to continue to turn until the light goes out. So now my light has gone out over here, right? This would be on your top panel. But I know that I'm not at my appropriate dimension for my current cutout. We're beyond our 2 turns. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a 9/16 wrench and an 11/16 wrench. You're going to bring these over, and on this shaft assembly, you have this flange nut and you have the jam nut. So I'm going to take that 11/16 and I'm going to put it onto that flange nut. I'm going to hold it there without turning anything. I'm going to come onto this side with my 9/16 and I'm going to break this free, because that's what was holding that in place. So without turning that 11/16, I know that's where it tripped my switch. I'm going to come back to my dial, and I know that I'm off by about a half of a turn. So holding those, I'm going to turn this back to where I think it should be, which was 2 turns. And now, without, again, trying not to turn this, I'm going to take and re-secure that jam nut to capture that position, okay? So now that I've done that, I'm going to turn my dial back into 0. You can see my weld light came back on. I'm going to come back over here, do the same again. There's 1 turn coming around. So there it shut off. I'm slightly early. So we're going to do the same exact thing. Loosen that. And now I'm going to just take and make my adjustment and then re-snug the position. And then repeat the process. Bring that back in. Make sure my light's on. Come back over. There's my 1 turn. Coming around. I'm watching my light. It goes off. And there's my 0. So that's my 2 turns. So my current cutout has been calibrated to the 165 thousandths neutral point. Now I can take and open this up, retract it, take these gauges out.